Good morning, folks. Morning. Oh, yes, it's still morning for 15 minutes, at least here. Uh, so today is November 3rd. Yesterday was John Winebrenner's birthday, and I think I've kind of started a trend on my channel with tying flies for people's birthday. I tied one for my nephew on the 30th, and you can check it out at Quiet Man 28 on YouTube. So I have a story that has to do with a squirrel, but there was no squirrel actually involved. And that story, that's with me and John. John's my best friend growing up, ever since we were knee high to a duck. So, anyway, the story about the squirrel, I'll tell you in just a second, but it inspired me to use squirrel tail for the fly today. So I'll go ahead and turn it around. I'm just going to tie a streamer today that involves squirrel tail. Get this back where I want it. There we go. Make sure it's focusing where I need it to be. All right. Okay, cool. So, be using squirrel tail as part of the streamer. I'll be using black tying thread. This is Unithread 8/0 black. I'll be using a little bit of red yarn for the butt of the fly. I've got some green wire. I'll tell you about that in a little bit too. And then some gold gold tinsel. So, and then of course clear nail polish for varnish at the end. So, let me go ahead and get the fly started, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the story that I'm referring to with John. And it took me some thinking because I was trying to figure out how I was going to tie a fly and tie it into John. I mean, we have so many stories, but not many of them involve fly tying or fly fishing for that matter. I will say though, he is kind of one of my reasons that I started tying flies on YouTube. When he came to visit a while back, he was asking me about fly tying and about the materials, and I was telling him that the flies that I tie, I don't always follow a recipe of any kind. I don't always use traditional materials. And apparently I don't use scissors ever because they're not up here. So, here we go. Because of that conversation that we had, I decided to do a video similar to some of the fishing videos that I watch where people go out and they go to a dollar store or go to whatever store they decide, and they try to stay under a budget to find some kind of fishing gear. And so I decided to go to the dollar store and pick up some fly tying materials and tie a fly, and I put that on a video. So that was kind of my inspiration. John was my inspiration to do that. Let me go ahead and get this tied in. So this is just a red yarn. Yeah, so I'll get to the story now about how Squirrel is involved. So one day, and this might be incriminating, one day I was hanging out at John's in the summer, and we had a BB pistol, single shot BB pistol, that I had borrowed from one of my other friends, Ryan Weatherly. And it's a BB pistol that will also shoot little darts. If you put the dart in the barrel, it'll shoot. And hey, sister. And the problem with that gun was that when you shot a BB, you had to aim about 6 inches to the left of the target to get it to hit its target. Um, anyway, we were in his backyard and we were messing around with this BB gun. And I say we, it was more me than him, but we were at his house. So we go into the backyard and we're shooting different things. And we did that with a little crossbow that he had also and whatnot. But this day it was the BB gun. And so me in my infinite wisdom wanted to see if I could hit the neighbor's house with this very, very weak BB gun. And now, granted, this is a BB gun that was not even strong enough to shoot through a can. So, hey Jim. This BB gun wouldn't even shoot a BB through a can. So I didn't think it had any kind of strength to do anything to anything. Because I was real smart. So I decided to aim for the side of the house. I aimed at the siding of this house, and I shot, and it felt like 3 seconds later, although it was quicker, that it actually hit the siding of the house. And then I thought, oh, I wonder if I could bounce it off of the window of this house. And so I fired, bringing it down. And now literally I was aiming over the house. I was not even aiming at the house. I was aiming over the house to try to get it to hit the house. So I brought it down and shot. And of course I hit the window and you could hear it tap. And so I thought, oh, okay, I was able to hit it, but it didn't do anything. So I did it again. It still didn't really do anything. But then we stopped and we went inside and we had some lunch or whatever. And about, I'd say, an hour later, we hear a knock on John's front door. And now nobody else is at the house. It's just me and John. And we open the door and there's a cop there. And of course, we sink. We have the sinking feeling. And he asks us about shooting any guns. And we told him, yes, we were in the backyard and we were messing around. And, we didn't really see where the BB was going. And I said, why? What happened? And he said, well, the neighbor lady was standing in her kitchen and she looked out the window and saw you guys pointing a gun over the fence, and then a BB proceeded to go through her window. And I said, well, I didn't even know it was going that direction. He said, you were probably shooting at a squirrel, right? Kind of helping us out there. And I said, oh, absolutely, that's what we were doing. We were trying to shoot at a squirrel, and must have missed. And then he said, well, we'll have to confiscate the gun and your parents will have to come to the police department and pick it up. So, and of course, my mom comes to the scene and she picks me up and we go to the lady's house and I go in and see what happened, where I had shot through the window and made a little dent and saw she showed me where the BB had come through and bounced around. It was still sitting on the floor and all that stuff. So I apologized and I think I had to mow a yard or something to pay for the window or whatever it was. But anyway, so although there was not an actual squirrel involved, that story, I was reminded of that story in thinking about using squirrel tail for this fly. So thanks to John for the inspiration for his fly on his birthday. So what I'm doing here is I'm tying this flash in. This is tinsel, like what a lot of Christmas decorations would be made of, but it's just single strand. And so I'm just covering the whole hook with it. This fly is meant to represent kind of a bait fish of any kind, minnow or whatever, that might be injured from being pursued by a larger fish. That's why it's got the red on the butt. And I need to finish this because my battery's going low. Anyway, so yeah, that's my funny squirrel story with John. So another little story about John that some people may not know, although people that know him well or from way back know this about him. He and his family used to dress up as clowns for certain occasions, and they would do things like balloon animals and face painting and whatnot. So I've chosen some brighter, let's say, clown colors for this fly. Typically this fly would have the red butt, but it would also have, with this, it would have the same color, silver, or if you use gold, it would have gold wire wrapped around it. And I'm using instead the red butt and green wire. So just a little change to make it interesting. So I wrapped the tinsel, and then I'm just going to wrap the wire to give it kind of a segmented look that'll give it some flash. And it's kind of hard to see because the light's a little bit behind it, but you get the idea. My wife is teaching a voice lesson, so if you hear her in the background, that's what's happening. You just twist these wires and break them off once you tie them. I'm going to run and grab a charger so this does not die. Give me one moment. I don't want to lose my video like I've done so many times. Okay, there we go. Save the day. All right. Hey, Pat Fontenot. Okay, so I've got that tied in. Now I'm going to trim this tail just a touch, just to make it a little more squared off. There. And then now I'm going to use my my squirrel tail. So this is, I think, a red squirrel, something. And it's kind of got some colored stripes on it. I don't want to take too much of this. So this fly can be tied on. You can either use it by itself or you can use it in conjunction with another fly. That would be a streamer. So it looks like you can make it be like the bait fish on the line, and then further behind it you could have a smaller fish, the look of a smaller fish. Sorry, I'm thinking of two things at the same time. You put this on the line and have a line coming off of it, and it makes the larger fish in the back look like it's following the smaller fish. And that can trigger the fish to strike. I tried to tie this fly last night, and after work I was just too tired. So sorry, John, that I didn't get this out on your birthday. And I also didn't call you yesterday, although I posted a couple of times on Facebook about your birthday. I figured you were probably directing the band at a football game. John is now the band director in just drew a blank. Near San Marcos, Wimberley. I don't know why I blanked on that. So I want to make this go just a little bit past where that tail is. So I'm actually going to trim this off first and trim it at an angle because I want that head to be pointed. Okay, let's lay this here. So I built up a little bit of a ramp here, and that'll hopefully make that hair stick up above the fly rather than lay down on it. And I'll hold it at an angle also. And I could do a variation on this. I like to tie a lot of times with a bead chain to make eyes on certain flies. And I could totally do that with this also, but I don't think it's necessary. Also, some people will do a fly like this and they'll stick on some eyes. So that's a pretty good look, but I think I want it a little thicker than that on top. So I'm going to grab another bit. Not too much. There's a new technique, or not a new technique, but a technique that I learned recently when you're tying flies, where you take your thread and wrap it around and you make a loop in the thread, and you can take your hair and put it in there and spread it out, and then you can wrap it around and it'll flare out around the fly. So I was trying to tie a fly that used that technique, and I had a little trouble with it with the squirrel hair, so that's why I had to figure out a different version of a squirrel tail. Trudy, I am not selling them. I'm really not even using them right now. I need to get back to getting out and fishing. The problem is out here, most of the better places to fish are a lot further than I'm used to going. What I want to do is take some time to go like to the beach, like Ocean Beach in San Francisco. I tied a fly that looks like or it kind of resembles, it's called a sand flea. It's a little kind of a crabby, shrimpy kind of thing, and I've been wanting to get out there and try that out because you can catch surf perch and you can catch stripers from the beach. But right now this has kind of been my outlet for my fly tying, fly fishing, doing the videos. Okay, so I'm just gonna make sure this is a good clean wrap here, covering up all the fur on the front, and this fly is pretty much done. I usually do a tie off with my fingers that I learned online, but I'm going to use my whip finishing tool today. Come on. There we go. And there's a whip finish. Okay, there it is. And then I'll finish it up with some clear nail polish as varnish. I could also follow this up with black nail polish to make sure that the head stays more black. And I could also use some of the 5-minute fix glue that has the light. You put that on and it stays wet until you shine the light on it, and it hardens and it makes a good hard head. And actually, before I shut this down, I've got some of that, and I watched a guy put that on the body. And when it hardened, it made the body thicker. So let me do that. So this is the 5-second fix, not 5-minute fix. 5-second. So it's got the gel in here, and then you shine the light. You shine the light, and it makes it harden. Hey, Miss Rachel, how are you doing? Haven't seen you in a little while. I think I haven't seen you since Paige and I came to y'all's church and sang. I may not even have enough gel in this thing. Oh, there it comes. Sorry, I'm sniffling. I've had a little bit of weather change. Weather change here is very slight, but there's always something budding here and blooming, and I think it's starting to catch up with me. Yeah, so you just get a good coating there. It thickens up the body some. And I'm just going to shine this light on it here. Get it to harden. I just think it's so interesting how the UV light changes the color of stuff that it shines on. They say that deer see more UV stuff. So when you're wearing hunting clothes, it matters what kind of material it's made out of. I'll put some of this on the head as well. On top of the nail polish. This will give it a smoother look. I can also get it to settle into the hair. This is similar to what they use at the dentist office when they glue something to your teeth. They put the stuff on your teeth, put down the thing, get it where they want it, and then they shine the bright light on it, and it hardens up. This is obviously not that quality. I don't know if it's obvious, but it's definitely not that quality. But it's pretty cool. Let's see if I can let that hang down a little bit down here. Kind of give it that fish belly body shape. Maybe like that. There. Harden it. Sweet. Okay. And I think I'm going to call it right there. So, this is John Winebrenner's clowning around squirrel tail streamer. Hope you enjoyed watching it. Hope you're listening to the Aggies. Hopefully they're still winning. And love you guys. And check me out on Facebook, YouTube at QuietMan28, and see some other flies. Happy birthday to John, even though it's a day late. And have a good day.